Imagine this. You're sitting at a cozy little cafe, sipping your favorite drink, catching up with a friend you haven't seen in years. You start talking about your life, sharing a recent success story. You're genuinely excited, pouring out the details, when you catch something odd. A flicker in your friend's eyes, a slight tightening of their smile. It's subtle, almost imperceptible, but there it is. A flash of something that feels a little like resentment or maybe envy. Envy is a strange, hidden emotion, one that's hard to pinpoint yet incredibly powerful. When someone envies you, they might not shout it from the rooftops. In fact, they may barely realize it themselves. But if left unchecked, envy can be as corrosive as acid, slowly eating away at relationships, self-esteem, and even mental well-being. And what's more, this venomous emotion can find its way into friendships, workplaces, and even family gatherings. Here's the thing, though. Buddhism teaches us that envy isn't just a bad feeling or something to be avoided. It's a profound window into our shared humanity. By understanding envy, we can protect ourselves from its toxic influence while also offering compassion to those ensnared by it. In this journey, we're going to explore 5 telltale signs that someone around you is harboring envy, how you can protect yourself, and how the wisdom from Buddhist teachings can offer guidance on dealing with this often hidden emotion. Ready? Let's dive deep into this subtle world and unveil the signs and solutions. Sign 1. The backhanded compliment. One of the clearest signs of envy is the notorious backhanded compliment. This is a sly form of flattery that stings just as much as it soothes. It usually sounds something like, "Wow, you're so brave to wear that," or "It's amazing how you just don't care what people think." On the surface, it seems like a compliment, but lurking underneath is a subtle jab. The backhanded compliment is a window into the mind of someone who feels inadequate in some way. Buddhism teaches us that all forms of envy come from a root of dissatisfaction, a desire for something that one believes they lack. When someone gives you a backhanded compliment, it's often because they see something in you that they wish they had, whether it's confidence, success, or just a sense of freedom. This is where Buddhist teachings on compassion can play a role. When you receive a backhanded compliment, it's tempting to feel hurt, irritated, or to snap back with a retort. But consider this. Envy is a form of suffering. The person giving you that veiled insult is wrestling with their own feelings of inadequacy, and that's no easy struggle. How to protect yourself? Rather than reacting with hurt or anger, try to take a deep breath and let the comment pass over you. If you feel comfortable, you could even respond with kindness. Something like, "Thank you, I really appreciate that," can diffuse the tension. Showing genuine warmth in response to a backhanded compliment not only neutralizes its sting, but also reflects a Buddhist teaching known as metta, or loving kindness. By embracing this approach, you are not feeding the cycle of negativity, but instead offering a moment of compassion to someone who is struggling internally. At the same time, protecting yourself doesn't mean ignoring your feelings. If these backhanded compliments become a pattern, it's okay to limit your exposure to that person. Think of it as creating a mental buffer zone. You acknowledge their struggle, but you don't let it affect your own inner peace. Buddhism emphasizes maintaining a balanced mind, and sometimes that balance involves setting healthy boundaries. Sign 2. The Silent Saboteur. If you've ever had someone subtly undermine you in a way that's hard to call out, you've likely encountered a silent saboteur. This is the person who might conveniently forget to tell you about an important meeting, leave out a crucial piece of information, or subtly downplay your achievements. They don't say anything outright negative, but somehow they seem to get in the way of your progress, keeping you one step behind. Buddhist philosophy teaches us about the concept of Mara, often depicted as a demon symbolizing the forces of desire, temptation, and deception that keep us from enlightenment. In this context, the silent saboteur operates as a modern Mara, introducing just enough negativity to make us doubt ourselves, holding us back from realizing our potential. The silent saboteur's actions are often rooted in their own fears and insecurities. When they see you moving forward, they feel threatened or inferior, and their response is to try to keep you on their level. It's not necessarily a conscious choice, but rather a defensive, ego-driven response. Buddhism offers insight into this with the teaching that clinging to the ego, one's idea of self, leads to suffering. The silent saboteur, consumed by their need to feel significant, resorts to tactics that harm not only others, but ultimately themselves. How to protect yourself. Navigating the silent sabotage of an envious person can be tricky, as direct confrontation might escalate tension. Instead, practice awareness, another principle in Buddhism. Observe the situation without reacting impulsively. Notice patterns. Is this person consistently forgetting to share key information, or do they often give you feedback that leaves you feeling deflated rather than uplifted? The Buddhist practice of mindfulness can help. By staying calm, aware, and focused on your own actions, you can avoid falling into traps laid by the silent saboteur. Maintain meticulous notes, double-check information, and develop a reliable network for support so that you don't depend solely on this person. If the sabotage persists, consider having a calm, respectful conversation. Without accusing, express that you value open communication and collaboration. Often, gently calling out their behavior can cause them to reflect, sometimes more than they'd expect. In addition, by building a mindful resilience, you can cultivate a form of inner peace that doesn't waver in the face of subtle opposition. This way, even if the silent saboteur continues their behavior, it loses power over you. The person who's grounded and aware cannot be easily destabilized. Sign 3. The one-up expert. Imagine this scenario. You're sharing a moment of joy or excitement with someone. Maybe you just finished a big project, ran your first marathon, or finally learned to cook that complex dish. But just as you're basking in the moment, they jump in with, "Oh, that's great! I remember when I did something similar but even harder." Or, "That's nothing. Just last month I did X, Y, and Z." Enter the one-up expert, the person who, no matter what you say or achieve, feels the need to top it. This behavior often comes from deep-seated envy, where the person feels the need to diminish others' successes to preserve their own sense of worth. Buddhism addresses this behavior through the concept of ego clinging, where attachment to self-image blinds us to others' joy, creating a cycle of competition rather than connection. The one-up expert's mindset is often built around scarcity. They see success as a limited resource, something to be hoarded or defended. When they see you succeed, they feel it threatens their sense of importance, and they react by competing instead of celebrating. This, Buddhism teaches, is a form of dukkha, or suffering. By constantly comparing themselves, they trap themselves in an exhausting race that has no finish line. How to protect yourself. When dealing with a one-up expert, remember that their response is less about you and more about their inner insecurity. Buddhist teachings encourage us to practice mudita, or sympathetic joy, the act of finding happiness in others' success. While the one-up expert may lack this ability, you can practice it for your own well-being. When they try to overshadow your achievement, respond with a gentle acknowledgement like, "That's great. I'm really happy for both of us." This neutral response helps steer the conversation without feeding the competition. Another strategy is to redirect the focus. If they're always trying to one-up you, try shifting the conversation to a neutral topic that doesn't invite comparison. Discussing shared interests, new ideas, or goals they're working on can make them feel validated without stepping into competitive territory. If the behavior becomes a recurring issue and you feel it affects your mental peace, remember that setting boundaries is a valid, healthy response. Buddhism encourages us to cultivate compassion without being a doormat. Boundaries are a way of protecting your energy while maintaining respect for others. Politely disengage if conversations steer into one-upmanship. Instead of letting their envy affect you, carry forward with the confidence that your accomplishments are meaningful without external validation. The goal isn't to change the one-up expert, but to preserve your peace and joy, which can only grow when you're no longer tethered to their comparisons. Sign 4. The passive-aggressive critic. Few things are as exhausting as dealing with a passive-aggressive critic. This person doesn't voice their envy outright, but instead peppers their comments with subtle digs, veiled criticisms, or dismissive remarks. Their words might sound like, "Oh, I guess you're lucky to have so much free time to work on that," or "I'd never have the patience to do something that flashy." It's criticism in disguise, carefully constructed to leave you questioning yourself or feeling like your achievements are somehow less valid. In Buddhism, this behavior can be understood through the concept of kleshas, or mental states that cloud our perception and bring suffering. Envy, resentment, and pride are all forms of kleshas. The passive-aggressive critic is often entangled in these emotions, but may lack the self-awareness or humility to express them openly. Instead, they attempt to mask their insecurity by subtly diminishing the accomplishments of others. While their envy isn't directly stated, it's present in their tone, the loaded words, or the fleeting expressions that accompany their remarks. They may see your happiness or success as a threat to their own self-image, so they seek to tarnish it, hoping that by doing so they'll feel more secure. How to protect yourself. The first step in handling a passive-aggressive critic is recognizing their behavior for what it is, an expression of their internal conflict, not an accurate reflection of your accomplishments. Buddhist teachings on equanimity can be immensely helpful here. Equanimity encourages us to maintain a steady, unshaken mind no matter how others react. Instead of taking their remarks personally, try to view them as mere reflections of the critic's own state of mind. One technique is to respond neutrally without feeding into their negativity. If they say something like, "Oh, must be nice to have that much free time," you could respond with a simple, "Yes, I'm grateful for it." Acknowledging your own happiness without defensiveness can diffuse their energy, showing them that you're confident and not easily shaken. In more severe cases, consider a compassionate approach called karuna in Buddhism. Rather than harboring resentment, try to cultivate understanding for the critic's internal struggles. While this doesn't mean excusing bad behavior, it can prevent you from holding on to negative emotions that harm your peace of mind. Lastly, create healthy boundaries. If their remarks consistently leave you feeling drained or anxious, it's okay to limit your interactions. Engage with people who uplift you and nurture your growth, surrounding yourself with positivity. Protecting your peace is an act of self-respect, a concept that aligns with Buddhist principles of caring for the mind. By recognizing their passive-aggressive behavior as a reflection of their struggles, you maintain both your inner peace and your sense of self-worth. You rise above their criticisms, anchored in your confidence and compassion. Sign 5. The Disappearing Act. One of the most puzzling and emotionally complex signs of envy is the disappearing act. Imagine you've reached a major milestone, perhaps a promotion, a wedding, or a personal goal, and you're excited to share the news with those close to you. But instead of celebrating alongside you, this person seems to vanish. They ignore your calls, miss your events, or forget to check in. The absence is conspicuous, especially since they were around during harder times. This vanishing act, while subtle, speaks volumes. The disappearing act is often rooted in an envy so overwhelming that the person doesn't know how to be genuinely happy for you. Buddhism teaches us that envy and jealousy stem from a place of dukkha, or dissatisfaction. When someone sees you achieving something they wish they had, it amplifies their own feelings of lack. Rather than confronting these emotions, they might choose avoidance, which feels safer than facing the vulnerability of envy. In a way, this behavior parallels a Buddhist teaching called aversion, which refers to the tendency to avoid discomfort rather than working through it. By distancing themselves, they're trying to escape the pangs of inadequacy that arise from comparing themselves to your achievements. The result? They disappear, not realizing that their absence only strains the relationship further. How to protect yourself. One of the first steps in dealing with the disappearing act is understanding that their behavior isn't a reflection of your worth or the significance of your achievement. It's natural to feel hurt or abandoned. But Buddhist philosophy encourages us to release attachment to external validation. Your accomplishment, joy, or happiness isn't dependent on anyone else's approval or presence. Recognize your success as inherently valuable, regardless of who shows up to celebrate. In cases where the disappearing person is close to you, consider addressing the situation compassionately. Instead of expressing disappointment or resentment, you might say something like, "I missed you at my event, and I hope everything's okay." By approaching the situation with understanding, you open the door for honest communication, giving them the chance to express their feelings if they choose. If they continue to distance themselves, remember the Buddhist principle of non-attachment. This doesn't mean letting go of people, but rather releasing the expectation that they'll behave a certain way. Not everyone is capable of sharing joy in the same way, especially if they're struggling with their own insecurities. Practicing non-attachment allows you to cherish your achievements without relying on external acknowledgement. Finally, invest in relationships that feel reciprocal and supportive. Envy can cause rifts in friendships, but it can also remind us of the value of genuine connections. Surround yourself with those who genuinely uplift you, and make time for people who celebrate your joys without reservation. In doing so, you'll create a circle of positivity that reinforces your happiness regardless of who decides to disappear. The disappearing act can be painful, but with awareness and non-attachment, you can protect your joy from being diminished by others' absences. Cherish those who show up wholeheartedly and release any disappointment over those who don't. Section 6. Conclusion: Protecting your inner peace amid envy. As we've explored these 5 signs of envy, one truth becomes clear. Envy is often more about the person who feels it than about the one it's directed toward. However, that doesn't make it any less challenging. Envy can be a disruptive force, undermining relationships, breeding resentment, and ultimately affecting your own sense of well-being. Protecting yourself from envy, whether it's overt or hidden, requires a combination of awareness, compassion, and a dedication to preserving your inner peace. In Buddhist teachings, a central principle is the cultivation of equanimity, a state of balance and calm that isn't easily disturbed by external events. Achieving equanimity doesn't mean being emotionless or indifferent. Rather, it's about maintaining inner stability in the face of both praise and criticism, success and setback. When we foster this sense of balance, we can respond to envy without internalizing it. Embrace self-compassion and let go of guilt. One of the first steps in protecting yourself is letting go of any guilt or self-doubt that envy might evoke. It's natural to question yourself when someone reacts negatively to your success, but remember that your achievements are valid and deserving of celebration. Practicing self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend, can fortify your sense of self-worth, making you less susceptible to the judgment or jealousy of others. Set boundaries with grace. Setting boundaries is a key part of protecting yourself, and it aligns with the Buddhist practice of cultivating right intention. This doesn't mean distancing yourself from everyone or building emotional walls. It means creating spaces where you feel respected and safe. If someone's envy manifests as toxicity or negativity that starts to impact your peace, it's okay to step back. Boundaries are a form of self-care that allow you to preserve your energy for people and activities that genuinely uplift you. For example, if you notice that a friend consistently gives backhanded compliments or finds ways to downplay your success, limit how much personal information you share with them. Instead, focus your energy on connections that are supportive and mutual. Just as a Buddhist monk carefully tends a garden, removing weeds to let flowers grow, you can curate a social environment that nurtures your growth. Practice loving kindness for others and yourself. Another powerful tool in protecting yourself from envy is the practice of metta, or loving kindness meditation. This involves actively cultivating feelings of goodwill toward others, including those who may harbor envy. Although it might seem counterintuitive, offering compassion to those who envy you can prevent resentment from taking root in your own heart. Loving kindness doesn't mean tolerating hurtful behavior. It simply means approaching others with empathy and releasing any negative emotions they might evoke. In loving kindness meditation, you start by extending compassion toward yourself, then gradually toward others, even those with whom you have difficulty. This practice allows you to see envy as a part of the human experience rather than a personal attack. Recognizing that envy often stems from others' insecurities or fears can help you stay compassionate without compromising your boundaries. Find joy in the present moment. Finally, one of the most effective ways to protect yourself is by grounding yourself in the present. Buddhist teachings emphasize the importance of mindfulness, or being fully present. When you're deeply engaged with the present moment, whether that's savoring a quiet cup of tea, celebrating a personal victory, or spending time with loved ones, others' opinions hold less sway. Envy loses its grip when you're rooted in the simple joys and experiences that fill your life. By focusing on the present, you can let go of the need for validation or approval from others. Practicing gratitude for what you have and who you are frees you from the cycle of comparison. It allows you to find fulfillment in your own journey rather than in the reflections of others. In conclusion, envy may be a part of life, but it doesn't have to rule your relationships or disrupt your peace. Through Buddhist teachings on compassion, equanimity, mindfulness, and non-attachment, you can protect yourself from the sting of envy and build resilience. Recognize the signs of envy without letting them disturb your inner peace, and cultivate relationships rooted in mutual respect and joy. In doing so, you empower yourself to live authentically, free from the shadows cast by others' insecurities. With awareness, compassion, and a dedication to preserving your happiness, you create a life where envy holds no power and where peace is yours to keep. If you've enjoyed diving into this journey through the hidden world of envy, don't let the insights stop here. Hit that subscribe button to stay connected with even more wisdom, tips, and teachings to enrich your everyday life. And hey, why keep all this good stuff to yourself? Share this video with friends, family, or anyone who could use a little more peace and positivity. If you've got stories of your own about dealing with envy, thoughts on what we covered, or just want to share a bit of love, drop a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up if this resonated with you. Thanks for watching. And here's to building a life that's full of joy, wisdom, and true inner peace. Till next time, Namaste.